face the unknown and ponder the question. What if?
What's going on, all you wild multiverse enthusiasts? Your two favorite superheroes back here. I'm Captain Logan Myers. That's my good mate over there.
Dr. Henry Hill, and we are back today to talk about an all-new episode of Disney Plus's Marvel series, What If? And we have a great story this week. It's talking about Doctor Strange, and the episode title is, What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands? What if, Uncle Logan?
What if is the question. And let's get this answer and solution right here. So in this episode, Doctor Strange, voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch himself, and his girlfriend, Christine Palmer, voiced by Rachel McAdams, huge fan of hers. But essentially the setup is, if you guys have seen the movie, he gets in a car crash, loses his hands. He's a surgeon, so he can't work anymore, and sets up the rest of the film. But this time around, they get in the car crash, and Christine Palmer ends up dying. And as you could imagine, Doctor Strange is devastated and trying to figure out the best way to go about bringing her back to life so he can live through life happy and not be miserable after her death. And that really sets everything up. And it turns pretty crazy pretty quick.
That's right. And whenever we talk about Doctor Strange nowadays, we talk about the multiverse. And with the upcoming Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness, this one does delve into the multiverse as Stephen tries to go back and change the past any way he can to bring Christine back. And we see all these iterations of him trying to go back and change things, change the way he did things, and picking her up that day so the accident wouldn't happen and she wouldn't pass away. But nearly everything he tries fails, and she still ends up dying. So he's really in despair throughout this episode. He's grief-stricken. He's just lost his everything in the world, and he's trying to go and find these powers throughout the episode. He wants to be all powerful so he can bring Christine back at no matter what cost. And we see him do that throughout the episode. And as he gains more and more power, the world around him and the multiverse that he's opened up just begin to be chaotic. And we see him just eventually just become insane and very psychotic towards the end of the episode. It just leads to him going very mad.
And he keeps trying to bring her back. And basically each time she just ends up dying in different ways. And the Ancient One shows up, voiced by Tilda Swinton, as we know from the movie, calling this an absolute point. It's basically something in time that cannot be changed. If it's changed, it messes up the whole timeline, as we kind of saw in Loki and the other MCU shows on Disney Plus, setting up the multiverse and breaking the timeline. And this is kind of what happens. It splits up the timeline, and we have two different Doctor Stranges, and they kind of have to battle one another at the very end of the episode, which is really cool, like the good and the bad kind of versions of Doctor Strange.
That was really cool, seeing the two of them meet. One is super evil and hell-bent on doing whatever he can. The other, Stephen Strange, is the one that we know. And by the end of the episode, they kind of merge as one. And you see what would happen if Doctor Strange had ultimate power. He's just not able to harness that power. And by the end of the episode, and him trying to get Christine back, it eventually just engulfs everything, takes over everything. And, basically ultimate power just corrupts him completely. And not only, destroys everything around him, it pretty much destroys the universe. This episode of What If was basically the first one where we didn't get so much of a happy ending. We've seen a lot of these, what if scenarios play out in these first couple episodes. They always, relatively, stick to what we already know. They change a few things, like Star-Lord was T'Challa in one, and then you had Peggy Carter as Captain America. So those were pretty similar to, what actually happened in the original films, just changing a couple characters around. Last week's was a little different, but this one was the first one where it, didn't have a happy ending. It was kind of a bummer. We watched Stephen Strange in a grieving moment for Christine. And, by the end of the episode, it just overcomes him completely. So this one was the first pretty emotional one, and one that didn't have a happy ending like the other What If episodes.
Yeah, I really felt for Doctor Strange, what he's going through, losing somebody he loves. I can relate to this, and then doing whatever it takes to bring that person back, that person you love so much, and not move on with your life feeling lonely. And I thought it really went to some dark places, showing that maybe Doctor Strange, maybe a little bit of foreshadowing for the upcoming part 2 of Doctor Strange movie, maybe him going to the dark side and having to do with Wanda, that's going to be in the film as well. So maybe some foreshadowing coming up, but regardless, I love this episode. I thought the animation was really top notch, especially the ending of this. And I thought the character obviously looked like Benedict Cumberbatch, and I thought it was just really well done across the board. Definitely one of the better episodes thus far of this season. And I had a really great time with it.
I had a great time too. And yeah, we don't talk about the animation enough, really. Obviously, This is an animated show. It's so good that you don't even really think about it. It's very good. I loved all the sorcery in this and all the magic that was used. A lot of awesome visuals that would have been tough to recreate in a live action film. So we get to see some really cool animation in this. And I like the way they do it. The style is really catches your eye, and it really looks good on screen. So the animators did a really great job, and I had a great time with this episode. And also the soundtrack and the score for this were really great too. I had it blasting on my sound system, and it sounded great. So the sound design and everything really shined in this episode. And this one had an emotional impact. Like you mentioned, it's easy to, sympathize with Doctor Strange going through this loss. We can all imagine going through something like that. We've all lost people that we love. How, what would we be willing to do to bring them back? And this episode really dealt with that. And with it being Doctor Strange and him able to use all this, sorcery and magic, you can imagine him going to great lengths and trying to get all this power to bring him back. And we see by the end that you just can't do it. Like you mentioned with the ancient one, she says, you can't do anything about these absolute points. These are things that happen that you can't change. And, if you try to alter them, it's gonna really, mess things up. And by the end of the episode, we see Doctor Strange trying to do that. And he, ultimately fails in this. So we'll be dealing with these issues moving forward into the multiverse and Doctor Strange 2. I can't wait to see that. Sam Raimi, that's going to be an amazing film. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, one of my most anticipated films for sure. And they're going to be going some dark, fucked up places and horror places as well with Sam Raimi at the helm. So I'm very excited for this. I like seeing the darker side of Doctor Strange, some foreshadowing for the upcoming film. But definitely one of the better entries of this season of What If. So that being said, episode 4, Doctor Strange. Oh, Steven. I give it a 4 out of 5 Benedict Cumberbatch hairpieces.
For me, I love the episode. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? We found out what happens, and it wasn't good. Doctor Strange lost his soul, destroyed time, changed everything. He wasn't able to get Christine back. This episode was one of the strongest of the year. My favorite, besides the episode of T'Challa where he became Star-Lord. This one was my second favorite. I can't wait till next week. We're going to have the zombie Marvel episode. Yes. We've seen those iconic comics. So I had a great time with this episode. I am going to give Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands. I'm going to give this episode a 4 out of 5 Doctor Strange hairpieces.
Stay tuned to our YouTube channel right here. We have more videos coming up. We have our review of Don't Breathe 2. And then we also have another Fellows giveaway coming out this week. A lot of great movies hitting 4K, hitting shelves very soon. They're coming up to the fall season, so a lot of older movies are hitting a 4K transfer. A lot of horror flicks coming out, and a lot of movies we're going to be talking about for 31 Days of Horror. So stay tuned for that and check us out right here on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, hit subscribe below. And also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our website, cinefellas.com.
It's been another beautiful review, Logan. This has been fun. We have a new episode of What If this week. We can't wait to review it. We will be back shortly to review that one. So stay tuned for that this week. We also have Malignant dropping on HBO Max on Friday. So stay tuned for our review. We love doing horror. Malignant, James Wan's newest original film. We can't wait to review that. So we will be back for another episode. Until the next time, I'm Terry Hill. Be gentle out there, y'all.
And I'm Larry Myers. Until the next What If review. Cheers!